The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Podwans Podcast. Hereth, how the fuck did I not know you were left-handed?
I guess we're just learning stuff before the podcast today.
Anyways, superior-handed is the proper term. But how's everyone doing tonight? Thank you for joining us and tuning in. We're back with a brand new Star Wars show. It's kind of great to say again, because I feel like the last time we were doing this, we were kind of fighting for our lives to just get any nuanced discourse around the Acolyte. But now we've got the first two episodes of the Skeleton Crew have premiered, and everyone, not everyone, most people seem to be okay with it, which is refreshing to see that people are not losing their minds over this. But what have you been up to outside of we've watched Skeleton Crew? We weren't here last week because of Thanksgiving. What's been up? I mean,
not really much outside of the typical Thanksgiving antics and other stuff. Media wise, I've been kind of vague outside of Skeleton Crew. I got basically held by gunpoint by some family members to watch Arcane, so that's what I've been kind of doing.
Oh, so you haven't showered in the past 2 weeks, is what you're telling me? Because of I hear that show is incredible, but because of its association to League of Legends, I refuse to watch that show.
Same. I was the same way. And then I one point, you're gonna watch the show.
I've got people sending me memes about oh yeah, what's this cool show? This show's really cool. What's based on? Oh, League of Legends. What's that? And it's just the gates of hell opening. But no, yeah, that's cool. I've been doing a couple of stuff on TikTok. I've been streaming Flight Simulator 2024 that recently came out.
I forget Star Wars. Just become a Flight Simulator character.
Yeah, dude. Point. I'm just playing. Star Wars is dead. All the grifters were right. It's just Microsoft Flight Simulator now. But no, we're here to talk about Skelly Crew, the new Skelly Crew.
Oh boy!
Put that away. I need a cup holder. But because we're here to talk about Skeleton Crew, it's not just going to be us. We've got two friends with us today. So the first person we've had multiple times. They were here all throughout the Acolyte, and they've talked to us about a bunch of other stuff. They talked about Rebuild the Galaxy, a bunch of High Republic stuff. So first up, Nick ND Wise Guy. How you doing?
Hey guys, I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great. I'm here. I'm ready. We've got Goonies in space, and we're going to talk about
fantastic.
Yeah. What have you been up to? How's things? How's life? Any
Life's
new fun
good.
things?
Not much. Just a lot of work getting ready for Christmas. Thanksgiving for me was a few months ago, being Canadian and not American. So I lived through you guys vicariously a few weeks ago. But no, just getting ready for Christmas.
Nice. Are the younglings getting any good Star Wars presents?
Well, the youngling got a good Star Wars present for their birthday. We got them a lightsaber from Level Up Sabers.
Hey,
awesome.
They have.
I'll use our code. Buy the Luca lightsaber. Anyway.
Yes, guaranteed better than a stick. I hope Master Allen pays me for that one. No. So they have been wanting.
Paid?
They've been wanting daily duels. I picked myself up the Ezra lightsaber from Ahsoka, which is fantastic and would highly recommend. I'm sure they'll get something Star Wars related for Christmas. There's always something that comes through.
Yeah, that's fair. Nice. Well, on top of you, we have a technical newcomer. They've never been on the Podwans podcast, but if you follow me on TikTok, you've definitely seen me in their lives and vice versa. And we've interacted with them. They're an awesome person in the Star Wars TikTok community. Chad, the Wolf of Loth Street, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Gentlemen, how is everyone doing today?
I'm doing really well. Today's been a good day. Work was a little busy, but it's fine.
I gotcha. Friday's almost here for most people. My Friday starts on Saturday for my job, so it's just whenever it's Friday for me, it's like Friday-ish, So
you have a Sunday, Monday off type of deal.
I actually have Sunday, Tuesday off, so it's not even a real weekend. But,
I have had that same schedule in my life before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sometimes it's helpful to have that day in the middle of the week off because for whatever reason, doctor's appointments they're always in the middle of the week and never when you're off on the weekend. So
my girlfriend this morning at 7 a.m. So
yep. See,
not fun. Not fun. No. All right. Well, we've got you two here. Thank you guys both for being here. I appreciate it. But we'll talk about Skeleton Crew. But for an icebreaker, Chad, I'm going to start with you. If you could have any career in Star Wars, what career would you have?
So I know it's going to sound cliche because we're talking about Skeleton Crew and it's pirates and smugglers and all that, but I mean. For your job to be a pirate and just go around the galaxy and smuggling and borrowing from people and making your living that way, it just seems like it'd be super super fun. But if we were going the great work or whatever they called it in the Skeleton Crew, if I was gonna have to be official, I'd probably say maybe like architecture like building those giant buildings on Coruscant and being able to look up and say, hey, I built that Jedi temple. That was my idea.
Amazing. Hereth, how about you? What would you do in the Star Wars galaxy far, far away?
Man, if I could do that in a galaxy far, far away, man, I would have like a bar on Coruscant and then just
X-Core just beat everyone. He's selling death sticks.
You don't want to sell death sticks.
You want to sell fentanyl.
Yeah.
Oh, that didn't take long.
That took 13 seconds. Holy shit.
I'm here to derail my own podcast, always.
Anyways, I was going to say...
What would you do?
I would be able to be like a bartender on Coruscant. Like, have like a good old like Coruscant bar, like a clone bar. Like, not the full of Remy, but like, man... Just have all the stories of like all the people on Coruscant. I mean, like, yeah, the Jedi just came through. Crazy shit happened. They're into my house, and you're like, oh, that sucks. Anyway, here's a drink.
I got an old buddy named Dex who runs a diner that they might need some help with.
Oh, especially after Revenge of the Sith.
Nick, what would you do?
I would have had one answer up until the Acolyte showed up, but the idea of being a mechanic and being able to work on ships just sounds like such a great job to do. Whether it's vectors, X-Wings, U-Wings, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Nice. I agree. Mine would be not the same. I wouldn't want the same employer as Bodhi, but I would love to be just a cargo transport pilot. Like just flying around with space junk and bringing it to places. Don't want to work for the Empire, but like just flying around and just like, yep, got to deliver all this stuff. I play a lot of Star Citizen, and that's basically what I do in that game. Is I just load up spaceships with boxes and bring them to different spots. It's so good. It's so good. You just load boxes.
You wanting to be a pilot? I'm surprised.
What, Chase?
Never. No, it doesn't fit at all.
I don't know. Planes are lame. Anyways, catch my streams on Microsoft Flight Simulator random days throughout the week. All right, well that's good to know. I kind of know where everyone stands. We have an architect, a bartender, a mechanic, and a pilot.
I mean, while we're on ships, this is something I've been waiting to ask you while I was on the podcast. Chase, give me your thoughts on the Skeleton Crew ship.
I have a draft ready to go.
Everyone will be on mute for 10 minutes while Chase gives his opinion.
I have a draft ready to go. It was filmed this morning. We could definitely touch on it. It is like one of my favorite ships ever in Star Wars.
Yes,
like it
the
is
Onyx Cinder, right?
The Onyx Cinder. We don't have a manufacturer. We don't have a model name. We could definitely get into it a little bit. I'll restrain myself because I already did make the video and I'm going to post it tomorrow morning. No, sick ship, super awesome ship, incredible ship. But that being said, we got the first two episodes back to back a day early, so that's a pretty big positive. I'm excited about that. Hereth and I think Luke was in there. We did like a prediction podcast almost, and like I was pretty mellow on the project overall before it aired. I was saying I was hoping to be pleasantly surprised, and I was. I thought that this show, I'm gonna say that the intro to this show, like the first 2 episodes, is probably up there with Mando season 1. Like I think the introduction to the show nailed it. You know, where we go from here is anyone's game, but I think the way they nailed what the show is about, what we're going to be getting into, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
How does everyone else feel so far? Just with these 2 episodes, how do we feel? General consensus?
I would agree. I thought that, you know, they hit the right tone for the first 2 episodes of this show. I think the characterizations were really good. The kids were kids. They weren't kids acting like you would expect adults to act like. I mean, the lightsaber battle between Neil and Wim just like warmed my heart so much to see, because that was something that I would do at that age for sure.
The getting Wim and Neil to shovel the
oh my god,
that's something I would do to kids 100. Like there was a creek in our neighborhood that all the kids would hang out at. I don't know if anyone does anymore because it's probably just too dangerous and like sewage and all that stuff, but we would 100%, like the big kids would always make like, hey, we're building a dam, like in it. It's like, yeah, we're building a dam. We, as in you kids, are building a dam. So like that was something for sure I loved to see, was like this felt very natural. I could like literally pinpoint like moments in my life from like, yep, I was on the playground at recess. You know, I can like picture exactly where I was, like sticks in hand, light zoom, 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 zoom. And like it was so cool. Like, Chad, how did, because I feel like I haven't really talked to you much about it. How did you feel about the first 2 episodes?
So, like you said, and I think I used the exact same words in my, you know, reaction video, pleasantly surprised. Like I went in with tempered expectations, not because of, you know, and that's what I said in my video, not because I was, oh, it's Disney, oh no, it's, you know, my expectations were low because it was heavily marketed towards kids, and I'm not a kid. So I was like, man, I really hope that it's going to be good, and I'm going to, you know, have something to enjoy, and, you know, it's not just going to be like, you know, a Hannah Montana Star Wars edition, you know, kind of show. But it wasn't. Like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. The Amblin vibe definitely, you know, hit you in the nostalgic stomach there, and the nostalgic feels for sure. I mean, something about the lighting, I think it is. It's got that. It had a heavy like ET vibe to it almost. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I gave it an 8 overall. I don't know. I would have to probably watch it a few more times. I'm not too sure, you know, myself why it's not jumping up to like a 9 or a 10. But just overall, I gave it like just a straight 8. I loved it. My daughter was watching it with me, and like after it ended, she looked over at me and gave a big grin, and I'm like, "What'd you think?" She's like, she gave me a big thumbs up. I'm like, "Okay, you did your job. You did your job on that one, Disney."
Yeah. Like I'm glad you brought that up, like the Amblin, the ET, like that. You know, from the trailers, I think there was a lot, like even on my end, like I'm not like trying to single anyone out. Like there's a lot of hesitancy of like they are putting the American suburbs in space in Star Wars. And like, I think a lot of people had pause with that because Star Wars has always supposed to feel distant yet grounded. And like, we were kind of getting the thing is like, is this too grounded? Is this too close to a reality? But one thing that I want to get everyone's opinion on that. But the one thing I wanted to point out that I thought was really interesting is the fact, if you watch, Wim's dad come into the parking lot the night that they take off, right?
Yeah.
There's sparks coming from his like car. He's not in a hover car, he's in a rail car. Like every vehicle is on rails there, which makes me feel like because of the fact that the pirates are saying there's no way you're from Aden, that place is like a fantasy planet full of treasure. And then they have the barrier. When I rewatched some of that stuff for like the video I made this morning, I was like, the rails make it because like the buses were on rails, all of the cars are on rails.
You're right,
The bikes are the only things that are not on rails. This makes me feel like that's very intentional. Like they don't want anyone going anywhere they're not supposed to go. So I'm curious, even with that, like even before that, like how did you guys, like what was your initial reaction to seeing it in the trailer to getting it realized in the show?
Yeah. I'll start with Nick. Like you have a lot to say.
I try not to talk too much. Yeah, I mean, when I saw it in the trailer at first, I thought, okay, this is neat, and it makes sense. I mean, Star Wars is a vast galaxy. There's going to be something that looks suburban. But when it came into the show and you realize that something was off with Aden, it all of a sudden made sense. And this kind of it almost was like a Pleasantville type environment where it's like all these little perfect things are here and everything's great and glorious.
10 out of 10 movie, by the way. If you've
100%.
not seen Pleasantville, incredible movie.
And I love that. And I think that, it speaks to whatever the mystery is, that someone has set it up that way to put people in this harmonious situation, completely isolated from everywhere. And I thought that was really cool how they handled that. And I also am happy, and I think, Chase, you mentioned this on your live too, is how they didn't spend a lot of time there. It was like, here it is, it's off, let's get out of here.
Yep, it was very much like, let's establish these kids, where they're from, what their lives are like. You got a glimpse into everyone's, with the exception of KB, you got a glimpse into everyone's like family life.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. And I'm sure we'll go back, because Wendell is still there, and he's got to find his kids, and all the parents are going to want to find their kids. So I'm sure we'll go back, and I wonder if that's, as the parents, try to find their kids, is there going to be pushback from the Aden government and stuff like that? But Chad, like, how did same thing, like from trailer to now, how were you feeling about the suburbs?
So I initially I didn't have any qualms with it, because I mean, the Star Wars has been, what's the word we could use? Earth. It's been very Earth-like, throughout its, the franchise. I mean, Dex's Diner, as we mentioned. I mean, they mentioned chocolate in different books and things like that. I mean, like Vulture Droid, Hyena Droid, like animals of Earth. Like these things aren't new to Star Wars. So it didn't really, affect the trailer, with me. So when it came to the actual show and we started seeing it, like you said, you said in your live a couple nights ago, like throwing off some Village vibes.
Yeah,
some M. Night
100%.
Shyamalan Village vibes. It's like
something up.
There's something is very, very precise, and there's a reason that things are how they are. And when it comes to his dad and Fern's mother, again, it's like, are they going to give pushback, or are they all part of the system and they're having to try to, get their kids back while still being part of that system? Because there is something there. Like, I think there's a reason why we didn't stay on that planet very long in the first few episodes. It's like, deflect.
Well,
let's go into space as quick as we can.
I have to ask the question to you guys, just because you used a word and it piqued me.
Yeah.
Do you guys all think it's a planet? Because I don't.
Ooh.
We never see it. We see them go through the barrier, but we never.
And then they immediately
see
jump
it.
into hyperspace.
Exactly.
Do you think it's are you saying, do you think it's like a space station?
Like a space station, or maybe like a ring world, like what we saw in Mando season 3? Like I wonder whether or not it's actually a planet.
Kind of like a Fallout type of situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes, I think it's a planet, only because of the reaction from the pirates when they say they're from Aden. Like, that they're like, I think that here's what I think is going on. I think we have the elements of the Goonies and E.T., Stand By Me, and It, right? With these like young kids going on this grand adventure that is beyond what you would expect out of kids. That's great. That's part A of the show. Part B of the show is the planet Aden, where this is I think a mix of a treasure planet / the Village, Pleasantville, Stepford Wives, where this planet is not what it seems, because of I feel like there's going to be, some type of treasure, right? Maybe it's coaxium, maybe it's cortosis or something along the lines. There's something that's very valuable that they are trying to keep everyone in and out of. I was saying on my live is like, I don't even think they're part of the Republic. I think they're just saying they're part of the Republic to keep everyone like in line, because they said X-Core said maybe it's Kyber. I think that's also that's another one.
Yeah,
if it's like it has a Kyber core or something like that. But no, I do think it's possible that it could be like a space station that's illusory of a planet, right? But I think it's got a treasure planet vibe, and there's people involved that know, which is why I think they have droids as security and not people.
And I think it would be interesting, like especially since Last Jedi kind of talked about like the whole like idea of like capitalism in Star Wars, and we kind of like people profiting from wars. It could be interesting if like a planet just said, nope, we don't want anything to do with the rest of the galaxy. We have this valuable, and we're not going to trade it. We're just going to basically just set people's lives up forever. Like I think that'd be a very interesting. I think it just adds like another layer of it,
like an Elysium type situation.
I was still thinking Fallout, but like
like
with like the people's lives are kind of predetermined before they even start, and then they're just going to keep them on the planet and never really let them out. Just kind of like like that kind of like end of the world type situation, but like add that into Star Wars.
Something's
I mean,
yeah.
It's like, even if we go with like that whole M. Night Shyamalan Village scenario, like they were doing it for like to make like a small utopia almost, and that could potentially be part of it too. Like they're using old Republic credits as their currency, so it's like I think everyone is probably using that. Obviously, I don't think they're using Imperial credits or old. I guess what it would be prequel.
I
credits,
think it would be prequel era credits.
Yeah, because it's like it's either that or maybe I thought about maybe it's like some kind of an arc scenario, like it's an arc that someone had sent off a long time ago, maybe, and it's not a planet like you said, but it's like some kind of a
like a generational ship type deal.
Exactly, like rebuild society in this way. So that, or it's a TV show like the Truman Show, because it's like
it's funny you say that.
That's an interesting thought.
The pirates are watching it on their TVs on their spaceships, and these kids are saying, "We're from At," and then they're like, "Sure you are." That TV show, okay.
It makes you think of what John Watts said before the show, because he said it was like a core planet during the Old Republic era. Like, what if they saw the Jedi Sith form? Yeah, we're done with the galaxy. We don't want to like mess around with this shit, and then they just broke off from the Republic.
I'm still curious though to think about what he means by the Old Republic, because I mean, realistically, anyone living, I mean, in my head, anyways, anyone living in the New Republic, anything pre-Empire is the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a different mindset from what we consider to be the Old Republic.
Exactly. I know a lot of people say like the characters in Star Wars have never seen Star Wars. So like, I think you're right. I think when someone in the New Republic refers to the Old Republic, they are talking about that prequel era of the Republic. I think that, they don't have a term for it, but like if we think about like High Republic and Old Republic lore, like if you were to talk about that, I think it would get its own name, right? Like we have like the medieval times, the Renaissance.
You think like the ancient times or something like that?
Yeah, I think like the ancient Republic, or pre-Republic, something like that, where it's also one of those things. Like if you think about how we refer to, like, we don't really talk about the Renaissance, we don't talk about medieval times unless it's like exclusively talking about history. Whereas it's like our great grandparents didn't grow up in any of those eras, so it's like it's so disconnected from us that I think it'd be the same way, is that they would just have the Great Jedi era, or during the Jedi Sith War, or the Sith Jedi Mandalorian War, whatever it may be. Like I don't think the characters in Star Wars would refer to what we call the Old Republic as the Old Republic.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they would either. There'd be some kind of crazy name for it, because like even in the books when they're talking, because I'm rereading Master and Apprentice, and they're talking about like back then, they don't mention that as being like the Old Republic. They just call it like back then or the old days or way back when. So
yeah. So yeah, I think, and this kind of, I won't touch on it too much, but the ship they're flying does look Imperial era. It looks like it looks manufactured by Incom based on the engine layout, as well as kind of like the blocky features and its turret layout. That looks like the same people that make X-Wings, U-Wings, and Y-Wings. So my assumption is that ship is not as old as maybe we think it is. And, it's a pirate ship that they definitely wanted to keep hidden, but I think it's not that old. I could be wrong, but
I would agree based on the design of SM-33, because we have seen some droid designs of the High Republic in the Jedi Survivor game and whatnot, and it's not a human-esque build with the robots that we've seen so far in the High Republic, whereas more through the prequel area and the Empire areas where we start to see those more human-esque features in droids. So I would tend to agree with you.
Yeah, it almost looks like a KX series droid.
Yeah.
Just piratified.
He looks like the Iron Giant. That's what I think.
I also find that interesting because I think you guys are right because of the whole them talking about Aldani getting potentially messed up post Andor. This is definitely an older ship. This is definitely not old Republic we're being led to believe. I definitely agree with Chase. I think it's definitely Imperial.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that it's sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's interesting that it was upside down too.
Yeah.
I think there might be something going on with that, unless they're just going to say maybe it crash landed and it just flipped over. But I don't know. I feel like it was buried in a very purposeful way too.
I agree.
I
agree
I
entirely.
think there's a reason it was upside down. I think it was cool because it was upside down. You didn't quite get that it was a spaceship at first because the way that the arches on the floor were just the arches of the ceiling. And then I think it was, I started to get the feeling that it was they're in a spaceship, kind of as they started getting their flashlights on everything and they started poking around. I was like, this is a spaceship. And I was like, this is the pirate ship they're going to find like they do in the Goonies. But yeah, no, it that take, and I feel like for me, I've been blessed this past couple years with takeoff sequences in movies because Romulus had a really good one, Dune Part 2 had some really good ones, and the takeoff sequence with this, just the way that the thrusters were melting the ground as it was taking off. We don't really see stuff like that in Star Wars.
Yeah, things were catching on fire.
It was
on fire.
It was awesome. Yeah,
I also love how they put the point of view in the parents of just the horror of just watching them take off with no control.
It was well shot. That whole sequence at the end of episode 1 was really, really well done. I think kind of one of the predictions we had is I think that ship is going to play a huge role. It's almost going to be a character in itself, kind of the way we have the Millennium Falcon, the way we have the Ghost and stuff like that. I think that the Onyx Cinder will be a prominent aspect of this thing.
Yeah, I would agree. We're gonna learn more about it. I think
it's someone's ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could it be Captain Silvo's ship, perhaps?
Yeah, and just to kind of touch on how old it is, I don't know how old it is, and I don't know how hyperspace travel actually works. But if you watch it, the first time they zip into hyperspace, right? You see this cloud of debris.
Yes,
dirt.
it's so good. It's both times. Both times
That's
they jump,
and then the second
behind.
time they jump through hyperspace, it leaves it. So it's that junk sat on there from the first time in hyperspace, and then it still had some left over.
That was such a
there's
good
some
detail.
dirt. It's been sitting on.
I honestly thought it was almost like a car backfire at first, the engine kind of popped before it went in, and that's what it left behind.
Yeah.
And then when it was
funny,
Then when it was going through hyperspace, Nick, I don't know if you related to this, I was having PTSD back to the hyperspace disaster because the way they were crashing into. I'm like, guys, no, we can't do this again.
When that ship came out of hyperspace in a not normal way, I was like, oh god, no, please no.
I'm glad we got to see that, though. I'm glad that we got to see that you can pull out of hyperspace earlier, and then like it's kind of violent. I loved that my phone, like whenever I just have my thumb out, it's like you gave a thumbs up.
Do your hand heart.
I think I can do this as well. Can I do? Does it do this? No.
Oh, it usually does. I thought it does.
Do I have to do the Gen Alpha one? Okay. Anyways,
I think they do it like like this, some weird way.
It's a weird way.
It's like a. You were on the podcast to do hand hearts, everybody, for all those podcasts.
Right. How do we do
Let me just get the blood out. Let me get blood out of the way.
Yeah. My 10-year-old daughter, I did hearts with her the other day, and she's like, "That's not how you do it, Dad." And she showed me the new way, and I still can't do it. I still don't know how they do it.
They do things in the weirdest ways, don't they?
Yeah, especially math. Like, what the?
The math is bizarre.
I've heard of this math, this like new age math, and then I just
it breaks my brain.
Sense.
Core math.
But no, like the ship is awesome. I won't go too much into this ship because there's other stuff to talk about. But I really like. I'm really excited to find out whose ship that was. Have we met the person that ship was? I'm not, because we don't. I'm gonna assume that the pirate sequence in the opening, which was awesome, by the way. Like,
yes.
The docking collars just like slamming into the ship with the claws, and then like the 0G guys coming in on grappling hooks. It was a little very heavy CG. Like those clearly were not people, and they did like a CG face on there, but like it still looked awesome. And because we saw Brutus not that much later.
Brutus.
Yeah, Wolfman vacuum cannon, baby.
Yeah.
Like I think that wasn't that far behind of the events of the show. Like
I didn't like a couple days.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder, like, okay, so if that was recent, whose ship are they on? Hondo Inaka's ship.
Hondo Inaka.
Well, it's actually in the spaceport. Like I was watching a new Rockstar, shout out EA Voss. I was watching his breakdown, and it's plain as day. It's sitting right there, right in the middle of everything. So
Hondo's around
in the show. He is around.
Speaking of fun little Easter eggs, did anyone else, and I didn't pick up on this, anyone else pick up on the chime of the bus when they dropped the kids off?
Yeah, it sounded familiar to me, but I did not know what it was. And then I saw someone's video on TikTok talking about it. I was
it's
like,
the Star Tours chime, Hereth. It's sped up.
It is.
It's sped up a bit, but it's the Star Tours chime.
It's the look, yeah.
The one that I noticed off the bat was they have in the score, they have chimes, which is very much just the Goonies chimed theme. That like when like they're looking at the pirate map in the Goonies and you have those chimes going off, like the iconic thing, like that is included into the score of the Skeleton Crew. And it's like it's something that I really appreciate, because the one thing I was really concerned about with this show overall was, are they going to try and recreate the Goonies and place it in Star Wars, or are they going to just take inspiration? And they've clearly taken inspiration from and I think like Amblin's the big one, but like I said, like Stand By Me, and like even like some of the stuff that like we saw like in the early 2000s, like we're seeing it there. And I like that it's its own thing. It wants to have fun, and it's just taking inspiration from everything, and it's just trying to get the vibe down and I think that's, another reason of not staying on at Adden for too long was like, we're not trying to make it so that, there's a pirate ship in their backyard where their parents are going to walk up to them at the end. It's like, no. They are out there. They are in deep space. That was another thing, and it kind of leads to like maybe like our favorite things about it. One of my favorite things about the show overall, obviously, the ship, but when they drop out of hyperspace for the first time, it was definitely brought up in the live that I did, but like the vastness of space that they portrayed when Smee just says, "Oh, no problem. Just point to the star that's your home." And it's just millions of stars.
Yep.
And it's just like we never really get that in Star Wars, where like when Han and Leia are in the asteroid field and they're they're fighting off the TIE fighters, like you don't feel like they're lost, even though they're in just deep space. And even like when they're like, oh, there's a TIE fighter coming by. Oh yeah, he's too far away. It's like you don't feel lost. Like that they're there for a reason. When they pull out and there's just nothing, that was so cool to me.
I also love how they use it as a tension thing of like what are we gonna do? And like I love the argument that just starts between the kids of like, okay, what now? And then like they're just like, just go to the spaceport, I guess. We'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
Like I love like the whole like how like they use that as a tool to kind of for the kids to kind of frame tension within the group.
Well, and I love it too, the realization of them that those were stars and not planets.
Yeah.
Because the first thing was like, look at all those planets. And it was like, no, those are stars which have a bunch of planets around each of them. Oh dear God.
Yeah. It was really cool to see. But Chad, what are like two of your most favorite things from just these first two episodes? It could be from one episode or both. Or
so from episode 1, just to start off, if you want to count this, but it was 45 minutes long, and I think that should be the standard, in my opinion, for like the minimum of how long an episode should be. The second one I think was like 30 minutes or so it's still kind of up there. I enjoyed that aspect of just the production side of it. But as far as my favorite thing, Brutus, I love Brutus, Wolfman coming out. I think originally I thought it was a Shistavanin or something like that, but now I think they're calling him something else. But I was hyped for him in the trailer, and it was cool to see him live action, and he actually is a main, like a player, like he could potentially be the big baddie in this. So he was pretty cool. And I liked the music by Michael Giacchino.
Mick Giacchino, it's his son.
Yep.
It's not
junior,
Michael Giacchino.
like he's the junior, right?
Yeah.
So I love the music. The music was so good. I mean, you already touched on it, like the little beats, kind of like how they had in Goonies. And then Smee, man, SM33, Nick Frost voicing that guy. I love Nick Frost and like Shaun of the Dead and all those Simon Pegg movies. But yeah, I like Smee, and then Smee's gone. So I hope Smee comes back. Surely he's just deactivated right now.
I'm sure he'll be back. Yeah.
I
love his little mouth eye. That thing is so good.
Yeah, so that's a few, and then just the overall the mystery from the get go, like us being able to now theorize about another show is awesome.
Yeah, Nick, top two favorite things, top whatever favorite things.
I love what I hope my brain rot is telling me, which is a High Republic connection when they talk about the great work. I nearly jumped off my couch when they said that. I was like, Lena, so.
Okay, do you think that, okay, let's say it is a planet. Do you think that this is maybe a planet that left the Republic during the High Republic?
I wonder, and I don't know who it was today, posted on Blue Sky, that they were thinking about the Stormwall from the High Republic and whether or not that might play into the barrier that's around at Atten.
I thought it was like a situation like they got discovered during, even though it's Old Republic, I thought they got discovered during Phase 2 during the whole Outer Rim, like
which is
when
entirely
they
possible.
And then between Phase 2 and Phase 1 is when they left the Republic during those like 200 years.
But I could definitely see it,
or
being
maybe
a planet.
even like Light of the Jedi, like maybe they saw the Nile.
Well, I'm thinking more of Phase 3. They're a planet that was caught behind the Stormwall. And when everything was done, it was like, you know what? And we still obviously don't know how it's going to finish off, but it's like, Republic didn't help us. The Nihil were horrible. We're going out on our own. We're doing our own thing. And that's how they became the isolationists that they are. I may be completely wrong. The great work may just be something that some robot overlord on this place made up for them to keep them in line. But I'm hoping. My brain says High Republic. And the other thing that I really loved was how lived in both places felt, both Port Borgo and at Atten. And I think that's something that when Star Wars is at its best, it's what it does. It doesn't have to explain everything to you. It just goes, here's this place, here's how the people get on, you're in it now. And I love that we didn't have to be spoon-fed about it. Port Bogo is a pirate port. Great. That's all I need to know. I don't need to know the ins and out and who's running it and blah, blah, blah.
That port looked, when they did the wide shots of that port, it looked so good because it looked busy. Like you said, it looked lived in. There was a lot going on. It was like, it very much felt like they conveyed that the kids coming there wasn't the event of the day, right? Yeah. Like, obviously, like, as like everything involving the kids with the credits and stuff like that happened, like, yeah, the center post, but like when they pull out, it's just like they would definitely go unnoticed in a place like this. And I do love the girl that came by. She's like, "What are you doing here?"
Yes.
Oh my god.
Children. And then they go, "We just want to get home. Where's home? At Atten. Where's actually home?"
Right.
I mean, I love the way like it like plays you because like when she was first coming, I was getting like Force Awakens vibe, like when they call in like everything on like Molly's come out as like base, or like, hey, they're here. I was getting those vibes almost. I was so like when she was like pulling the kids out, I'm like, oh no, what are they gonna do? I didn't immediately trust her because I was just like, oh, she's gonna scam the shit out of them. So when she was like being helpful, I was like, oh, we're breaking a Star Wars trope here.
Always trust a Thielen. Always trust a Thielen.
I liked that interaction because it did feel real. Because like even like if you go to like a shady part of a city, right? Like I remember distinctly being, too young to go to like certain areas or like hanging outside of certain music venues or bars and like, it's like a rough area and some guy's coming up to you and then another person comes up to you and is like, no, leave them alone. What are you doing? Like I do think that like, yes, she works at what looks like is either like a dancing club or a brothel or something like that. But like, she's clearly looking out for like specifically these kids, like screw everyone else. Like what's with the kids? And so maybe we'll get more with her, maybe not, but it did feel kind of realistic of like, someone noticed that there were children at the pirate port. What is going on?
And he seemed kind of protective, and maybe she stumbled upon that place as a child, and now she's kind of seeing
or
herself
she has
in
kids somewhere, and this is how she's trying to provide for them. So, but also she could just be like a minor character. But yeah, I liked that interaction because it did feel real in a lot of ways. Like that, they're even in like the roughest places. There's always someone that does care, especially for kids. So I like that. But was there anything? Because like I can definitely think of some things that I wasn't necessarily absolutely crazy about. Was there anything in these two episodes that like didn't do it for you?
I didn't. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'll let you go. Mine's gonna be really quick. Like I thought long and hard, and I honestly couldn't come up with anything. Like it was just overall really, really good. I mean, I felt immersed. Like I was, entertained throughout. So, I mean, call me a shill, but I didn't really have anything negative to say about it.
When does your Disney paycheck come in?
A couple weeks, maybe.
I thought, according to you, it's every 2 hours. So that would just be like
every 2 hours.
We got to be here for another hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Everyone, please subscribe to Disney Plus right now. No, like Nick, what were some things that like just didn't work for you? It doesn't have to be like something you hated. It just like
the only thing I didn't like, and it's a minor nitpick, is I don't like the distracted, disaffected parent trope.
Yes.
Like Wim's dad not giving him the proper. I mean, this is from what I can gather. This is a kid who lost his mom somehow. We don't know how, which was another interesting mystery. And
Fallout parallels again. Sorry.
And the dad is clearly they're playing like the emotionally distant dad, and I didn't like that, and that's like a minor nitpick because I'd like to think that the dad would be I'd rather see them in overprotective mode in that perspective as a single parent rather than distant.
But that
it's
also
the
makes
overprotective another trope, though.
It is. It definitely is.
We need more normal parents.
But Nick, I'll hit you with a counter though.
Okay.
Because we were like saying this in Star Wars Facts Guys comment section because he made it like a John Watts appreciation post. John Watts tends to do overprotective parents. He tends to go the opposite end of the spectrum. I feel like that's a very intentional. It's a very intentional. That's a very intentional decision. I think that's playing into the mystery of Ad-Adam. Like I feel like John Watts doesn't. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm the John Watts Glazer, but he doesn't tend to do that as a writer and director. He tends to go the complete opposite route.
No, that's a good point.
So I think it's playing into the mystery.
And I think you're right. I think it is playing into the mystery as to like almost as though whatever duty that he is doing on Ad-Adam is of more paramount than being a normal parent to his kid, which is interesting.
That or maybe Ad-Adam is so safe of what they think that he doesn't feel like he needs to be so involved. That's why he's just leaving his kid there. Here's some credits, I'll see you in a couple of days, like that kind of thing. It also kind of felt that way, like they're so used to there not being any danger. Like everything is so organized that we don't have to worry about locking our doors like it was back in the day.
Yeah. The way that Wendell was interacting with the security droids towards the end leads me to believe that whatever is going on with Ad-Adam, he's out of the loop on it. Like he's just living it, thinking it's normal. So like I have only the highest expectations that he's going to figure something out about Ad-Adam and do whatever it is to get off of that place.
Yeah, I also feel like because they said in the episode, didn't he get a promotion that like same day, and that he's like his job has changed suddenly, and he's like now taking on more responsibilities, and now he's probably starting to come in.
There's something about a meeting he had to pull out of, or his review he was pulled out of.
It was a supervisor review, which they name drop supervisor a lot in this. Like even the droids, whenever they say that's a violation, a starship leaving the barrier is a violation, they're like, the supervisor will not like this. Like, I'm not sure who the supervisor is, but they name drop the supervisor a lot.
Yeah, that's true. They did.
Yeah. And also like does like get off the least favorite things, but it also made me think of what Tio was saying. Like, I'm wondering who the crew is, because obviously there's no way they're just surviving on their own, just growing food on my planet. There has to be a crew of people that get off that planet and fly out of there and bring stuff in. So like I'm wondering what that mystery is.
I mean, if it's like a planet that has riches, and it could be, like a mineral, it could be an ore, it could be something. I don't personally don't see a problem with the planet being self-sustaining. Like we're self-sustaining, we do okay. Like
self-sustaining, or maybe from what all of the residents can see, it's like we're cut off, and these the food and all of our things, they come in from the planet, but at the end of the day there's like a back door where they're getting it from somewhere.
Yeah, like there is a hidden port for imports and exports. But yes, John Pedro, if the supervisor is Cara Dune, hot dog, Rangers of the Near Republic rejoice.
It's in the same era, same time frame.
It is.
Perhaps the supervisors are the friends we made along the way.
She technically could be in this era. Highly doubt it, but anything's possible.
You'll just see the back of her, and she'll get knocked out of whatever tall building she's in.
Yeah, I think for me though, well, like Chad, you said you had one quick one that didn't work for you.
No, I said I could. Yeah, I didn't have anything. Yeah.
Like for me, like I would say like same with Nick is I've got two nitpicks that like I just didn't like. One of them is just like a very personal thing. Like I wish the bikes the kids rode were bikes, not mopeds. Like even if they were like repulsor controlled, like having some type of like physical motion to get those things going instead of just like, bolted together mopeds, I think would have been cooler if they were trying to get the vibe of the Goonies, E.T., Stranger Things, stuff like that. I think if they were like I said it in like my like first reactions, like if like to get the repulsor lift to work on the bike, they had to pedal it, and that's how it got its power.
Yeah,
like something like that, I think would have been cooler as someone who rides a ton of bikes. It just was like, come on, give me a bicycle in Star Wars, please.
To me, I guess that kind of like relates into my nitpick. It felt like at end, like as much as I enjoyed the mystery and like the tensions behind it, it felt like they were trying too hard at specific moments to like give it that Star Wars window dressing. Like you said, like the bike thing, and then like other things. Like it just felt like obviously the trope of like, oh, typical suburban home in sci-fi has been done like multiple times lately, of like the ordinary wrapped in the unordinary, but it felt like they were going really hard and like being like, oh, we have to make this feel like Star Wars, so we're gonna add like this, we're gonna add this. I wish I would kind of just would have doubled down on it. And
that's kind of the same that I was gonna follow up with, is like the scene where they're in the hallway and they've both gotten in trouble. It was like that one felt to me, that felt too close to home with like the locker, and like everything looked really good. Like the lockers clearly were not just lockers; they were Star Wars lockers. Everything that they included was Star Warsified in one way or the other. So I think that works. But I agree. Like there was some stuff where I felt like maybe it's a little slightly too close to home, but overall, like I think it worked really, really well. And like there's stuff we haven't even gotten to, like Jude Law, like his character we haven't really gotten into, who we think he is. I mean, I'd throw that to you guys. Like I know that some people are saying that they think he's Captain Silvo.
100%.
100%.
100%.
I'm not in the camp.
Well,
that he's
just to throw this out there. So in the credits of episode 1, Jude Law is credited, and he's not visually in episode 1. And then episode 2, he's credited as well, because he's obviously, you can see him. So, I mean, he's, to me, I hear Jude Law talking when he's Silvo. And I just feel like it's too convenient that he's there with that pirate gang, and now he's also in the brig on that planet where that pirate gang lives, I guess.
I'll have to rewatch the opening again.
His like, for me, his accent is just too distinct.
He's very distinct,
even with the vocoder that mask gave Captain Silvo, I still heard Jude Law. I'll be shocked if it's not him.
Yeah, because I listened to it on like a really good center channel, like a good speaker, and I was like, oh yeah, that's Jude Law. Like almost like within seconds, I'm like, that's Jude Law.
Yeah, like he has said in interviews that he goes by more than one name.
And then also in an interview, there was an interview recently with Jude Law where they were talking about, they're like, he said something on the lines like, I'm surprised more people didn't put together the mystery of my character almost immediately because I thought it was obvious.
Oh yeah, I saw that TikTok today. Yeah.
And
okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is, do we think was he a Jedi, or can he just use the Force?
I think he is a Jedi that can use the Force, but I'll let you go, Nick, because Hereth is going to probably back me up if he can get the photo ready.
I think that he never got past the stage of youngling. I think that he was a youngling during Order 66. I think that he was perhaps saved or captured or both by pirates. I stand by maybe Hondo, which is why we might see Hondo in here. There's a connection between the two. I may like Hondo a bit. We'll get that later. And that, to me, that's why him trying to pull that key to himself was such a shaky thing. He had just started his Force training, and that's why.
I didn't like the key.
No?
No. The fact that the key just tapped, it was key shaped and it tapped to the thing and it unlocked it. I was like, come on. It didn't have to be key shaped.
But it's no fun if it's just a card.
Yeah, but it's fine. But I was like, come on.
I'm 100%. I'm 100% the opposite. I think he is a Jedi. I think he was a Jedi. I sent Hereth these pictures because when you watch the last trailer around like the 119-minute mark, that is just bouncing around on the side.
That's not a blaster with a lightsaber.
Right. It's his blaster's holstered in front of him.
Well,
and
it's some type of staff weapon, is what I'll say. I mean, we've seen expandable and collapsible staffs. Could it just be a staff?
maybe, but I'll show you. So this is one of my lightsabers. Woo, my favorite color. But if you look at his design, I mean, it's
fairly similar. It definitely
fairly
is.
close. The colors, the shape of it. I mean, it's again, when you watch it on the trailer, it's literally going back and forth like this. So I don't know. I think he's like a Kyle Katarn type Jedi, and I like the fact that you said Hondo saved him. That would be very, very cool.
Like that, and to me, that's
the age matches.
Well, and it's on par for Hondo. Hondo, as much as Hondo, especially during the Clone Wars, wanted to make him out to be this cool character, not caring about him. He cared about the Jedi. He named his ship after one of the younglings he met during the Gathering episodes. Yes, like it would fit perfectly if Hondo found him and went, "No, I'm going to protect this person."
Especially the way he. Oh, sorry.
Do we know like the date of this show? Do we have like a set
date?
We
we just know it's post Return of the Jedi. That's the only time frame I've heard.
I know some people were theorizing it's either concurrently with Mando season 3, like it's running at the exact same time.
That's what I heard. I heard that I heard it's parallel towards the Mandalorian. Not sure which season, but I heard it's in the same time frame as the Mandalorian post Jedi.
Yeah. I've heard either concurrently with Mando season 3 or after Mando 3, but before Ahsoka. I know it's at least before Ahsoka.
This is just me wanting to not have another Order 66 survivor as a Jedi character. Could he be someone who left Luke's temple?
I think he would be too old at that point.
If he's too the thing is, like, maybe.
Would that line up though? Because if it's around Mando times, Luke is just building his temple.
Right.
Yeah, he just is building.
Could it be that he was someone that, like, this is just me trying my hardest in mental gymnastics to get away from Order 66 survivor, like, again. Is like he could just be someone who was Luke's age when Luke was starting and they met, type deal. And it's like, this is like again, just wishful thinking, but like, I think it'd be like if there was someone that was Luke's age that also knew, like, obviously people knew how to use the Force after Order 66.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, could this be a way that they're again trying to tie into the sequels? If it's like Jod tried to help rebuild the Jedi Order with Luke and it didn't work out and he left and became a pirate.
That's also a very Jedi name. Jod Nawud. Jod Nawud. Yeah, it's a very Jedi name. I would just ease your mind this way. So I see where you're coming from, because the Order 66 Jedi, you have Cal Kestis, you have Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan and all these survivors. But at the end of the day, the whole reason that the Inquisitorius existed, like the whole reason they had Inquisitors, was because the clone Order 66 failed. It didn't fail. It did not 100%, wipe out all the Jedi. So that's why they had the Inquisitorius. So, I mean, it does logically make sense that there would still be tons of Jedi out there just thrown about the 100%. Galaxy and who have not maybe even heard of Order 66 happening, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
I want them, I hope they come up with a more creative reason for him to exist besides Order 66. And I think you can do that in a number of ways. I think it could just be, like you said, maybe he was out on a mission that did not involve the Clone Wars, and he just lost contact, and he's just grown old, and then he joined pirates. Sure, I think that would be cool. I think him having some connection to Luke would be cool. I think that would be like my personal preferred thing, is like, okay, we're finally moving in the direction of this new era of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. We're going to start connecting the pieces to this era of Star Wars. But
to me, I hate to say it, I think Order 66 just is the most logical path forward. I think I like the idea of like Nick of saying like, oh, he was a youngling during Order 66, and then he got picked up by Hondo. Because like I think that's a very, I hate to make it MCUification of Star Wars. It felt like a very post Guardians type of like spin on Star Wars to be like, oh yeah, what if a Jedi went with a gang of pirates? What would happen then? Like I think that's like a very interesting way to do it, especially with like the way Hondo treated Ezra. That's something Hondo would do. It's like very on brand for Hondo. But
would you forgive it more, Chase, if that's what it was? If Hondo actually picked him up, would you forgive it if he was
if
Order
Hondo
66?
If he was picked up by pirates and like we don't have to go through, here's my trauma of witnessing Order 66. It's like, yeah, dude, that shit sucked. We've heard it 100 times.
I hope it's almost like Balin Skull and Ahsoka, where it's like he talks about it and it's like, yeah.
I would honestly, I'd be fine with that. Of it's just like, I used to be a Jedi. That's it. Mm-hmm. Like he's old enough where it's just like, I would almost rather something like that of like, yes, I used to be a Jedi. I don't want to talk about it. Like, cool. Perfect. But here's the other real question. Which one of these kids is going to be Force sensitive?
KB.
Yeah, it's KB.
I'm voting KB.
You're all wrong.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say my hot take is that they're not. None of them are.
You're all wrong.
I think the only
Neil. I knew you were gonna say that.
Of course, that's everyone's favorite, but I think the only Force sensitive being that we're gonna see is
KB is my favorite because she's just Data from the Goonies.
Yeah.
But I don't know. No, I also, Chad, I think you're right. I think it would actually be more refreshing if none of these kids like. Maybe they get a lesson from Jod of like, it's not about the Force that makes you great. You know, it's like you are 4 kids that survived on unlimited adventures on a pirate ship and you made it back home. You don't need the Force.
I also think it'd be refreshing in a post Stranger Things world to have like none of the kids have the Force, and it's like they're having to rely on Jude Law to get out of these situations and then learn how to get out of these situations themselves.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like they'll get Jude Law and then we'll get separated and they'll have to figure out how to get out of the situation without the Jedi guy lifting stuff for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, like 100% we're gonna get stuff like that. So I'm excited. But like I kind of said at the beginning, like this was such a solid launch. Like where would you rate as far as premieres of Disney Plus shows go? Where would you kind of put this?
I would say it's probably number 3 for me. Like I go Mando, and then I go Ahsoka, and then I'd go Skeleton Crew. I think it's number 3. Ahsoka, the first few episodes of Ahsoka to me were great. Like I'm a Rebels nut. That's what my name is based off of. I really loved Ahsoka. It's my favorite of the live action shows because it was basically Rebels season 5. So that one was very strong. But I think Mando, for what it was number 1. Like we're never gonna get a
Mando
boom like that. I don't think. So I think Mando number 1, Ahsoka's number 2, and then Skeleton Crew is number 3 for me.
I could have come in with a hot take.
Oh,
I think it's like number 5 for me.
Wow.
I think I would go like Mando season 1. I think is like one of the best Disney Plus premieres of any of the shows. Like it hooks you immediately, and it's like it just gets straight to the point. Then I would say like Mando season 2 would probably be like number 2. Like Mando is like more.
I can't even remember what happens in the first episode of Mando season 2.
It's the Cobb Vanth episode with on Tatooine with.
It's the
Mando
opening where he's
or season 1.
I put both season 1, season 2 together.
Season two chases where he opens up watching the fight ring while he's trying to find information on the Jedi. John Leguizamo's character, his entry into Star Wars.
The Cobb Vanth episode.
I don't remember this at all. You're lying.
And then
I thought you said season 1. That's why I was like trying to put my
I would say
season 1, just like the I could take you in warm. I could take you in cold. Like just like the atmosphere of season 1 Mando. Like, well, Mandalorian's not. I would not even consider it one of my favorite shows. Just that opening is so strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I would say like I would go like Ahsoka, Kenobi, and then I would say Skeleton Crew. Andor, while I love it and it's my favorite show, I think it doesn't have the strongest opening arc. I think Aldhani is what really grabs me more into Andor than the opening arc.
And then I like the opening of Andor a lot. I think the way it sets everything up is really interesting. Yeah. But I would agree. I don't think it's the strongest opening. I think Mando season 1 is like by far the strongest. And then I would put Skeleton Crew at number 2. Like I think the way they kicked it off, I think kicking it off with that pirate siege in the very, very beginning, super cool. Then establishing the at and stuff. And then if we count like episode 1 and 2 as kind of like the same premiere, like that spaceship taking off and them going to that pirate outpost, like it's a vibe. It's a really good vibe. I really like it.
It delivered.
Oh yeah, I would also put Acolyte pretty high up there too.
Yeah,
I think Skeleton Crew and Acolyte maybe tied.
I thought the first episode of The Acolyte was really strong. I agree with you guys. I think the premiere of Mando season 1 is cream of the crop, and partly because it was so different from Star Wars while still being Star Wars. Yeah. To have that sort of Old West feel, and like you said, Chase, I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold. Like, what a perfect way to start anything Star Wars with such an iconic line. I personally, I would put The Acolyte up there. I thought it was a really strong start to the overall series. I thought that the action that they put into it was great. I would put Skeleton Crew probably on par with Ahsoka, just because I think it does such a great job setting up the entire scope of the show without feeling both rushed or overstuffed. Like we get a lot in these 2 episodes, but it never feels like you're being rushed through it. And I think that's what makes it so good and on par with Ahsoka and Mando, is that the pace is perfect for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's for me, that's where it is.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm this is, it's one of those things of like, at this point, the show can go anywhere from here in any way. And, that's both a good and a bad thing. So I'm based on what they've shown us, like, I'm very optimistic for what they could deliver, but it's also one of those things of like, it could fall off, any show can fall off. Right. And I'm hoping it doesn't. I hope it keeps up this pace. It keeps up the momentum. I hope we get the beats that we're kind of seeing. And I think, I hope we get unexpected turns. I hope that like some of the stuff we even talked about tonight, like, I hope that stuff changes. Like, it's like, oh yeah, we had no idea that, maybe Jod was, he's just a Force sensitive pirate. That's it. Something like that, where it's just like these things that happen, just like, no one saw it coming. That's something that I feel like we've talked about every single Star Wars live action show, is Disney has always had a twist in there somewhere in each one of their shows, where it's like, you just don't expect it. And we haven't gotten to a twist so far. This is pretty much what I expected, but just executed way better than I thought they would. So I am anticipating a pretty big twist for this show, and who knows what it could be.
Yeah,
so
I agree. And I think something else that to consider is the director had said that he had pitched this as a movie, not a show. So I was wondering, before I had heard that, I was wondering, is this going to be like an episodic thing where like they're having different adventures that they're going on each step of the way, and then they'll finally get back home? But it actually seems like this is going to be one just straight storyline plot of them trying to get home, and it'd be like a film. And I actually dig that more. Like, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I think that this being like one continuous story instead of like the Mando season 1 adventure of the week I think this is one of those things that if this show ends up being super popular, and obviously depending on how the season ends, like a season 2 could probably benefit from being like that adventure of the week, kind of like a Star Trek Next Generation, but with kids, right? But I don't think this is one of those things where like I would like for it to be a 1 season solid contained show. Like I'm fine with these. Like I know we've talked about the Acolyte ad nauseum, right? And it's like the way they left that off, I think it opened up more stories for those characters, if that makes sense. Yep. But like, and like an Acolyte season 2 would have been really cool, especially where they left it off. But I'm like, in my mind, like there's no way they're going to just ignore Darth Plagueis and Chimere. Like, there's gonna be something else.
I know it's too early to talk about like how the Skeleton Crew kids. We all know like from like the 2020 press conference or like, conference meeting, like these are all going to merge into one with the Filoni movie. I'm assuming. I would like to see just Jude Law's character just get picked up and just moved over there, because I think seeing him interact with like especially like I was thinking like Boba and Fennec would be interesting, like him being kind of like the in between, like force sensitive between like Luke, Ahsoka, and Ezra and Sabine, and then you have him and like Boba and Fennec, where he's like kind of connected more into the criminal underworld.
So you're wanting it to be like a end game where it's like on your left, Ahsoka,
not
John running, and then here comes Luke, and then here comes Mando.
We all know it's
Order 66 survivors assemble.
Yeah. Right. We all know it's gonna turn into that, even though I don't want it to. We're just saying, like, we all know it's gonna happen. Like, let's be real.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
If they do it though, I hope that they do it in more than one movie.
Hey, Neil, I need you to distract Dr. Doom.
I think that Disney has learned they can't like, as cool for a lot of people that the Endgame moment was, it killed the momentum of Marvel. It 100% like nothing since Endgame. And I'm not a Marvel person, but I can just tell you, like, no one has had the same level of interest in Marvel since Endgame. Like Deadpool and Wolverine was the last, like, oh man, people are really stoked on Marvel now. And I think that is just because everyone got the biggest serving of Marvel they could possibly get with Endgame. So I think you're right, Nick. Like, I think if we're going to get Ahsoka meeting up with Luke again, or meeting up with Mando, or all this, like, yes, it's going to happen, but I don't think they're going to do it all at once. I think they will spread it out so that there's always something to look forward to.
I'm kind of hoping that like in Ahsoka season 2 starts to build that, so you get more of that relationship building that Marvel did through the first 3 phases to get to Endgame.
I'm just curious to see, because like obviously, because remember during the Celebration 23 panel, like we know it's going to be the New Republic versus is like Thrawn's forces. I'm curious to see how like that's going to happen, how they're going to kind of build it, which is interesting. I mean, I have my issues with that, but anyway, too much to get into on a podcast.
Well, we've got 45 minutes to kill until we get our paychecks, so let's just go for it.
Very true.
But yeah, I mean, that being said, I may sacrifice the paycheck because I know for Jack, it is getting late.
You unchill.
I'm actually only taking money from Microsoft now to play Flight Simulator.
Oh yes.
And Cloud Imperium Games, because I was called a shill for them despite dogging on the stuff that they've done over and over again in a video I made. It's my favorite thing is when I dog on like Ubisoft or Disney or Cloud Imperium, and they're like, "You're such a shill," and I'm like, "Yeah, you clearly know what that word means."
Yeah.
Very receptive.
But no, I think what we'll do is, Chad, tell me what you're up to, what you've got going on, where we can find you on the internet.
Well, you can find me at the Wolf of Loth Street on Blue Sky, and you can find me on the Wolf of Loth Street on TikTok right now. I got a YouTube channel. I haven't set it up yet. Not too much there. But yeah, just trying to get the community, the positive part of the community, growing again on Blue Sky, and as you know, we always have our TikTok lives discussions, our funny what ifs, battles, hot takes that we got going on the lives. So, yep, the Wolf of Loath Street on TikTok and Blue Sky.
Nice. And Nick, where can we find you on the internet? What are you up to? What are you working on?
You can find me at NDWiseGuy on TikTok, Blue Sky. If you look for me on Twitter, the account's there. I'm not using it anymore. It's just there so that no one steals the name. I'll be talking about Skeleton Crew, obviously. We're also going to be talking about pretty soon Tempest Breaker, the latest audio drama out for the High Republic, which I'm just about done and has been fantastic so far. Yeah, I like to talk about the High Republic a lot, if that wasn't obvious during this podcast episode. And like Chad, I'm just trying to keep the positive vibes going. It's been great on Blue Sky, if I can call it out. It's such a nice breath of fresh air to not feel like you can't put your opinions out. So yeah.
Hereth Productions.
Yes.
Where are you on the internet? What are you doing?
Actually, I'm going to hit you with an Uno reverse. Where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me
reverse.
You can find me at Forward in the Black on TikTok and Twitch. I am mostly talking about Star Wars, Star Citizen, and other video game stuff. I stream Microsoft Flight Simulator here and there, just doing flights in my little Cessna for that really buggy launch. And then I'll occasionally stream stuff like Silent Hill and Star Citizen and all that. But you cannot find me on Blue Sky. I'm only on LiveJournal and MySpace. So Hereth, where can I find you on the internet?
Yes, you can find me at Hereth Productions on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky.
Beautiful.
I guess you could follow all of us at the Pod Ones podcast. I guess I'm just stealing Luke's thing.
If you want to follow the Pod Ones, actually that'd be great. If you could like this, comment your thoughts on the Skeleton Crew as it comes out. We will be here next week on Thursday at the same time, talking about episode 3 of the Skeleton Crew. And also, I believe next week we'll be talking about War of the Rohirrim, the new anime Lord of the Rings movie that I believe comes out today or tomorrow, something like that.
Movies are weird. It's a Friday release, but Thursday actual release date.
I'm excited about that. I'm excited to talk about that as someone who's like not a huge Lord of the Rings person, but like doing a lot of the content with Rings of Power was a lot of fun. I learned a lot of cool things about that universe, so I'm excited to watch that and talk about it. But Nick and Chad, thank you guys both so much for being here, sharing your thoughts, your opinions, and spending the evening with us. And for everyone that's in the chat that's been giving their feedback and their theories, there's some great ones in there. And I do agree with John Pedro. We need just a full-on Cobb Vanth TV show or movie at this point. He's such a cool character. I love him. But that'll do it for this episode of the Pod Ones podcast. Hereth, you could take us out.
And of course, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Always.